Okay, so this is a test reading for Reason to Hope, Room to Dream, aka the Visual Purple spread. If it's decent, then I might go ahead and upload it, but we shall see. Visual Purple is also called rhodopsin, and it is a pigment in your eyes that allows you to see in the dark. And I could tell you a whole bunch of really left-brainy kind of stuff about it, but if you're watching this reading because you want to get out of the dark, you're probably not super interested in the science part of it right now. So I'm using the Empathic Oracle by, I'm not going to say Midman, by Steve Wilson and Michelle Matuzas. Okay, so first question, what do you need to acknowledge in this darkness so you can begin to let the light in? Okay. So we have resistance, past, and directions. Now I'm going to go ahead and just deal all these, I think. Or pull, whatever is the proper term. Question 2 is, what strength can you draw on during this time that you've not yet utilized? Oh, sassy. Okay, got autumn, light at the end of the tunnel, the present, balance, gates, and chaos. What energy should you focus on that will help you to rekindle hope? Containers. What energy should you clear or turn away from that's keeping you stuck in the dark? I knew that was going to come out. We have predator, focus, and throat chakra. Okay. And what energy can you tap into that will bring life back into your dreams, or allow you to be able to dream once again? Okay. Okay, everything right side up. All right. So we have adversity, spring, heart chakra, and gaslighting. Oh, I get it. Okay. Actually, yeah, okay. Being told that adversity does need to be upside down. It's the other ones that need to be right side up. Okay, so let's see what we're doing here. Working it out. Probably with copious editing, if it ever makes it anywhere. Because it's practice. What do you need to acknowledge in this darkness so you can begin to let the light in? So we have resistance, past, and direction. So what I get from this is because of past experiences, there is a resistance, whether it's conscious, unconscious, or a bit of both, toward going in unfamiliar directions. But at this point in time, I'm getting from both of these shapes here that there's not really anywhere else to go except in a new direction. So it seems like there's some, I want to say like residue left of the past. Like a lot has been healed and worked through. But there's still some little remnant that is causing doubt in the ability to fly off into a new direction. And so acknowledging that and seeing if you can okay, well that got interrupted by an annoying random sort of administrative thing. And so it actually adds a little bit to what I was going to say for me, because now I'm thinking part of the residue that is causing the resistance is still being tied to certain things that their places is quickly diminishing in your reality. And so it's like there's still like little loose ends to tie up and to clear and take care of, which are, you're getting sort of a 75-25 ratio with being able to allow the new in, but yet still having to deal with the old. And that ratio can topple in the favor of the old very quickly if any of those loose ends happen to be problems that present a not easily resolvable challenge. Can get you kind of mired and stuck in them. Okay, so what strength can you draw on during this time that you've not yet utilized? Okay, so that's where that. Okay, so we have chaos, gates, balance, present, light at the end of the tunnel, and autumn. I'm going to take autumn to mean less of a projected time frame and more of a sense of everything has its season. And light at the end of the tunnel with present, have hope for the future, but be in the moment. Because right now, it's kind of like you're going through this portal where you're going from chaos into balance. The gate representing the portal. And that's like backwards, but let's assume that everything is to the left, okay? Instead of going right. That's not like the, the regular mode. Let's assume it's a left-handed world for a second. Not that I'm left-handed. But this gate, this portal, this present time stands in between the chaos of the past and the balance that you seek in the future. It's something that you're working on, but in the meantime, knowing that everything has a season indicates that a little bit more patience would be helpful. If you can try to cultivate that, you've probably been on this trek for a while. But that actually speaks to really honing the hell out of your patience skills, which can feel a little tedious, but in the long run is worth it. Because you don't want to get to the end of the tunnel before the light comes out. You want to make sure that, the tunnel you're going through, you're not racing through it before the sun has a chance to come up on that other end. And lest you think that you're still in the dark when actually you've made it out, it's just the light hasn't joined up with you yet. So the strength you can draw on that you've not yet utilized is digging just a little bit deeper and having patience with the fact that you need to cultivate a little more patience. So it's kind of like a double whammy. What energies should you focus on that will help you to rekindle hope? Containers. The thing about containers that I'm thinking of looking at all this stuff here. Oh, and 42. By the way, Douglas Adams says that that's the answer to the universe is 42. But anyway, containers, if they're containers with lids, which I'll assume these are because there's little squares, there's not like open lines here. We could just assume maybe the colored ones are ones with lids. Generally speaking, you can't see what's in them until you take the lid off. But there's a lot of containers represented in this image, so that would be a lot of lids off at once, and you can only focus on one thing at a time, one container at a time. So while compartmentalizing isn't always the best way to deal with emotional challenges, it can sometimes be a good stopgap measure to help you over a little hump in the road. If you can take your worries and frustrations that concern the remnants of the past that you still have to deal with while you are trying to look forward to better times, if you can kind of put those in their own separate container, and that container has a specified time when it can be looked at or looked into, let's say. And if you're not at that point in your schedule, then it's off limits. You have to focus on the container that is in front of you in the present moment. And I think maybe it might be something that helps you sort of clear out a little bit of space, because otherwise you get log jammed with it's conflicting interests is what it is, and it can cause cognitive dissonance where what you're feeling on the inside doesn't match what you're experiencing on the outside is one example of that. And it's very freaking uncomfortable and makes it very hard to be patient when you have cognitive dissonance. It sort of tries your whole system there. But yeah, if you focus on only having that time with the vexing, the frustrating, the irritating in a specified parameters around it, and give yourself that space outside of those issues to actually breathe, then I think that that's going to do a great deal to help you rekindle your sense of hope. What energy should you clear or turn away from that is keeping you stuck in the dark? And we have Predator. Let me move these. Alright, okay, we have Predator, Focus, and Throat Chakra. How appropriate that I clear my throat right after I say Throat Chakra. Well, I'm trying to feel out how Throat Chakra... Okay, I get it. Because basically, there's been some hijinks in the past, let's say, that have made you feel like you need to be on guard, that your soft underbelly might be at stake. And there's a tendency to focus on those things which trouble us, because there's always that wish to figure them out to the point where they can be resolved within us and they don't trouble us. But when the focus is too heavy on those things, then it can end up being either a situation where your throat chakra is completely closed off and it's just all simmering inside of you, which means that it's festering and it's chemically turning into something that is not healthy to be in your body, or your throat chakra is too open and there's this need that you feel to explain and justify over and over, which keeps it out in your energy and keeps it in focus. Because speaking of it at this moment in time is not resolving it. So that discomfort is still going to be there. And so then speaking it becomes something that solidifies it, that underscores it, that gives it a more solid purchase. This is kind of like, reminds me of roots in the ground but upside down. Like this could be the sky and this is the ground and stuff, right? Which would not be the way to grow anything. Actually, turn the focus upside down and then you'd have some soil that, you know, but otherwise, I mean, anything that grows into, I don't know, well, you'd be going into the upside down, basically, with a mind flare from Stranger Things. Yeah, so, I mean, turning the focus upside down, turning your focus away from that and finding a container, a space and time where you kind of have a talk beforehand with yourself. What are the rules of engagement for discussing this matter with myself? And kind of think about being polite to yourself instead of chewing on yourself about it. Treat yourself as you would treat a friend who had that issue. When you are trying to sort it out, and look at yourself compassionately, and also look at the other party or parties as neutrally and as objectively as you can, because that's only going to aid you in finding a resolution to the emotions and helping you process whatever situation went on in the past that made you feel threatened in whatever way or unsettled. Yeah, rules of engagement for discussing things with yourself is not a bad idea, and a prescribed time, so it's not something that you're constantly focused on. Okay, and then we have, what energy can you tap into that will bring life back into your dreams and or allow you to dream once again? So, adversity, upside down, spring, heart chakra, and gaslighting. Right off the bat, tapping into your heart space and that feeling of unconditional love that can be very present within us when our heart chakra is open and in balance is going to be nothing but helpful as far as dreaming, because the mind can always, the mental space can always come up with all the reasons why dreams are foolhardy and they aren't, let me push these up a little bit, they aren't a good way to spend your time. But we have to be able to dream, because a lot of the hope and the verve comes from that, and being able to stretch the imagination without any sort of fear or restriction. Dreaming allows us to be able to get into that groove. And so our imagination extends into other areas where we're not daydreaming, we're, you know, working on things and creating things. So it's dreaming, daydreaming, works that muscle, metaphorically. Adversity upside down says to me that while it looks dark here in the upside down sky above these flowers, it's not always going to be that way. And so it's something that will help if you remind yourself that now and again. Because with gaslighting, I feel like there was some gaslighting in the past, and its position in this, it makes me feel like almost, even though it's a weird way to answer the question with it right side up, like almost like there's this expectation that further gaslighting will present itself moving forward into the future, moving forward into basically the springtime of this period that you're going through right now. You can consider the darkness to be the winter of it. Conveniently, I'm recording this in winter, but springtime is around the corner for you. The end of adversity is, whether it's something you can really believe in at this moment or not, around the corner for you. Opening your heart is going to help you to be able to feel that more. But anticipating the gaslighting, while you want to be alert and use your discernment, certainly, whenever you're dealing with unknown quantities, let's say. We also have a tendency to attract that which we are expecting. And if you're expecting somebody to gaslight you and they actually don't have that intent, then my sense is what can happen, if you're anything like me, you might throw off, not a literal scent, but a whiff of that expectation of gaslighting, and it's not clearly labeled. The other person hasn't been warned about it. It's just something that you're like almost trying to push down within yourself, but you're still fearing. And part of that is coming through on a conscious level, and it's going through your energy and popping out at this other person. They're going to sense it. They're not going to know how to interpret it. It's not even going to be a tangible, noticeable thing. It's going to go through the transom, through unawareness, through just osmosis, right? And still it's going to impact how that person's able to suss you out. Because there's going to be this sort of veil in between you that is unacknowledged. So, but yet it's palpable. But it's not palpable in a way that you can like define and speak out and resolve and you know, discuss and, hey, this is going on, I'm getting this impression, because it's just so faint. It's so transparent. It's not there's not a lot of substance to it, but there's enough of it to, well, if we bring it back to the scent analogy, and it's a whiff, it's enough of a bad smell to make good smelling things also have a little bit of that bad smell. And it's going to impact that person's reactions to your interactions in the slightest way. And then that slightest way is going to pop back over to you. And that whiff is going to get added to your original whiff. For lack of a better word. And as it gets volleyed back and forth, it's going to foster more and more disconnection and vagueness and crap that you didn't start off thinking was going to happen, because you were just tentative about the gaslighting, but then all of a sudden you're generating this actual situation where at a certain point that's got a much, much better chance of happening, because the whole back and forth is just so tainted by this extra stuff that didn't need to be there. So tapping into the promise of the new, the hope that things will not always be this way, and the love that you carry in your heart, allowing that to come out more. And like, not, we have a tendency to try and hide our hearts when we've been messed with in whatever way, or when we felt that we had to protect ourselves. But it doesn't really protect us from getting hurt again, because we're going to let that out eventually, at least part of it. And we're still vulnerable in a host of other ways. So it's really the main thing that it does is it keeps us from connecting with others in a genuine way. And it keeps us from feeling the good things. Not just avoiding the bad things, but it keeps us from feeling the good. So while it's a risk, it's worth it. It'll be easier to see that it's worth it once you get a little bit of blooming under your belt, once you get a little bit of experience out of adversity, because you're just really used to the momentum of bullshit. But I get that that's coming to an end, as hard as it may be to believe. Have hope, because things are going to get better. Love and light. Take care. By the way, if you want to know about rhodopsin, here we go. Rhodopsin is a light-sensitive receptor involved in visual phototransduction. It's named after the ancient Greek for rose, due to its pinkish color, even though it's called visual purple, and also for the Greek word for sight. Rhodopsin is a biological pigment. It's found in the rods of the retina. It's a G protein coupled receptor. I had no idea what that was, so I'm like, well, let me look it up and see if there's anything good there. And what I found out is a G protein coupled receptor is a cell surface receptor. So it detects molecules that are outside of the cell. The molecules don't have to come into the cell for it to know that they're there. And it's able to activate a cellular response. It has lots of other names, including serpentine receptors. And the serpentine crystal, which we have right here, the properties of that is it's thought to bring protection against bad luck. It boosts sexual energies and fertility, protects you from negative energies, and helps with developing your personal strength, opening up channels for spiritual expansion. So if you look at that along with the G protein coupled receptor deal about how it detects things outside of it, and it's called the serpentine receptor. Serpentine kind of does the same thing with the protection against bad luck and protecting you from negative energies, opening up channels for spiritual expansion. Sounds like it also is passing along kind of a little extra sensory deal. Also called 7 pass receptors because they pass through the cell 7 times. 7 numerology, speaking wise, somebody say that better, is humanity's, it stands for humanity's deep need to find depth and meaning and spiritual connection. And it says when the creature needs, it's got quotes around it, like food, self-expression, and material and domestic achievements are met, we turn to deeper levels of life to learn, to educate ourselves, and to find purpose. So, conversely, it's a little bit more difficult to turn to deeper levels of life to learn, educate ourselves, and find purpose when our creature needs of food and self-expression and material and domestic achievements are not met. But visual purple, the G-coupled protein receptors are extremely sensitive to light. And this enables vision in low light conditions. It allows you to see in the dark. When it's exposed to light, it immediately photobleaches, and it's regenerated fully in humans in half an hour. After which, the rods are more sensitive for the experience. So it lights your way through the dark. When it's exposed to light, it photobleaches, so it dissipates, it changes form, but it comes right back. And it doesn't take a lifetime to do it. It's just a half an hour. You could get a pizza. After which, the rods are more sensitive. So you can look at it metaphorically. In our little example as being when the rods are more sensitive, then you can detect the things around you, like going back to the protein receptor. See, I told you, this is why I didn't do this at the beginning of the video. But anyway, it's located, this is the thing you wanted to know next, I'm so sure, on chromosome 3, dun, 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 which spans almost 200 million base pairs, the building material of DNA, which is crazy. But that's only 6.5% of the total of DNA cells, so it's not that crazy, I guess. But people with life path 3, as opposed to chromosome 3, which I'm pretty sure we all have, life path 3 people carry great creative potential, but they struggle with focus, much like I am struggling with focus reading this to you. Because they lack discipline, it's hard for them to finish creative projects. Oh, do we need to hear that part? That's kind of... Okay, but 3 is also associated with optimism and an abundance of energy. 3 is symbolic of the exuberance of life and the spiritual being having a human experience. So that's like a nice place to end all this left brainy stuff, because basically this location speaks about being a spiritual being having a human experience. Part of a human experience is the dark times. And while they're not the most fun, they are incredibly useful. And you can't really have a well-rounded human experience without them. They force us to grow. They tear down old firmaments and structures and force us to build new ones in their place. And when we build new ones, we are bringing all of the previous knowledge with us. So things that we learned from the past things we built can go towards improving the new. It's just that transitions can be difficult, and long periods of darkness, there's always... the light can be too bright sometimes, and you have to give your eyes time to adjust. And while they're adjusting, it's easy to feel like you have no sight at all, and that you're still in the dark, just a different flavor of dark. But remember, it's an adjustment period. Nothing lasts forever. Sucks when you say that about good stuff, but when you look at bad stuff, it's a pretty comforting statement. So I hope that this has been entertaining or helpful, or both. Thank you.